The United Nations buffer zone in Cyprus is a demilitarised zone, patrolled by the United Nations Peacekeeping Force in Cyprus, that was established in 1974 following the Turkish invasion of Cyprus, and de facto partitions the island into the area controlled by the Government of Cyprus in the south and that under the administration of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus in the north. The zone runs for more than 180.5 kilometers along what is colloquially known as the Green Line and varying between less than 20 meters and more than 7 kilometers wide, has an area of 346 square kilometers. The zone stretches for 180 kilometers from the western part of near Kato Pyrgos to the east just south of Famagusta. It cuts through the center of the old town of Nicosia, separating the city into southern and northern sections. There is also a buffer zone around the Kokkina exclave in western Cyprus. The width of the zone ranges from few meters or feet in central Nicosia, to 6.1 kilometers at the village of Athienou. There is no buffer zone along the common border between the eastern British sovereign base area and the area under Greek Cypriot or Turkish Cypriot control. Some 10,000 people live in several villages and work on farms located within the zone. The village of Pilla is famous for being the only village on Cyprus where Greeks and Turks live side by side. Other villages are Dina, Athienou and Trouloi, while Olympia and Mamari lie partially within the zone. Turkish forces built a barrier on the zone's northern side, consisting mainly of barbed wire fencing, concrete wall segments, watchtowers, anti-tank ditches, and minefields. This line is also referred to as the Athienou Line, named after the Turkish code name for the 1974 military intervention, Operation Athienou. The closed-off zone has become a haven for Cyprus wildlife, an example of an involuntary park. History: a buffer zone in Cyprus was first established in 1964, when Major General Peter Young was the commander of the British Peace Force set up in the wake of the intercommunal violence of the early 1960s. After stationing his troops in different areas of Nicosia, the general drew a ceasefire line on a map with a green crayon, which was to become known as the Green Line. The Green Line became impassable following the July 1974 Turkish invasion of Cyprus, during which Turkey captured approximately 8% of Cypriot territory in response to a short-lived Greek Cypriot coup. A security zone was established after the Tripartite Conference of Geneva in July 1974. Pursuant to United Nations Security Council Resolution 353, the foreign ministers of Greece, Turkey, and the United Kingdom convened in Geneva, Switzerland, on July 25, 1974. According to UNFISP, the text of the joint declaration transmitted to the Secretary-General of the United Nations was as follows: a security zone of a size to be determined by representatives of Greece, Turkey, and the United Kingdom, in consultation with UNFISP, was to be established at the limit of the areas occupied by the Turkish armed forces. This zone was to be entered by no forces other than those of UNFISP, which was to supervise the prohibition of entry. Pending the determination of the size and character of the security zone, the existing area between the two forces was not to be breached by any forces. The Union Security Council then adopted the above declaration with Resolution 355. When the coup dissolved, the Turkish armed forces advanced to capture approximately 37% of the island and met the Green Line. The meandering buffer zone marks the southernmost points that the Turkish troops occupied during the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in August 1974, running between the ceasefire lines of the Cypriot National Guard and Turkish army that de facto divides Cyprus into two, cutting through the capital of Nicosia. With the self-proclamation of the internationally unrecognized Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, the buffer zone became its de facto southern border. Traffic across the buffer zone was very limited until 2003, when the number of crossings and the rules governing them were relaxed. Sectors. Sector 1 starts at Kokkina exclave and covers approximately 90 kilometers to Mamari, west of Nicosia. Since October 16, 1993, it has been the responsibility of the Argentinian contingent with 212 soldiers. Sector 1 headquarters and command company are located in San Martin Camp, which is near Skourio Tissa village. Support company finds its home at Roka Camp, near Zeras in the north. the two line companies are deployed along 4 permanently manned patrol bases while also conducting mobile patrols from the San Martin and Roca camps. Sector 2 starts at Mamari, west of Nicosia and covers 30 kilometres to Kato, east of Nicosia. Since 1993, has been the responsibility of the British contingent, which deploys using the name Operation Tosca. Sector 4 starting at Kato, east of Nicosia and covers 65 kilometres to the village of Dernia, on the east coast of Cyprus and has been the responsibility of the Slovakian and Hungarian contingent with 202 soldiers. Crossings. After a nearly 30-year ban on crossings, the Turkish Cypriot administration significantly eased travel restrictions across the dividing line in April 2003, allowing Greek Cypriots to cross at the Ledra Palace crossing just outside the walls of Old Nicosia. This was made only possible after the decision of the ECHR. These are the crossings now available. Before Cypriot accession to the European Union, there were restrictions on Green Line crossings by foreigners imposed by the Republic of Cyprus, but these were abolished for EU citizens by EU Regulation 866/2004. Generally, citizens of any country are permitted to cross the line, including Greek and Turkish Cypriots. Passports are required for entry into northern Cyprus, but they are not generally stamped. A 2005 EU report stated that a systematic illegal route through the northern part to the government-controlled areas exists, allowing an influx of asylum seekers. Incidents. In August 1996, Greek Cypriot refugees demonstrated with a march against what they regard as the Turkish occupation of Cyprus. The demonstrators' demand was the complete withdrawal of Turkish troops and the return of the refugees to their homes and properties. Among them was Tassos Isaac, who was beaten to death. Another man, Solomos Soloma, was shot to death by Turkish troops during the same protests on August 14, 1996. Aged 26, Soloma was one of many mourners who entered the buffer zone 3 days after Isaac's funeral, on August 14 to lay a wreath on the spot where he had been beaten to death. Soloma was fired upon by Turkish soldiers when he was climbing to a flagpole to remove the flag of Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. An investigation followed by authorities of the Republic of Cyprus and the suspects were named as Kenan Akin and Erdogan Emanet. International legal proceedings were instigated and arrest warrants for both were issued via Interpol. During the demonstrations on August 14, 1996, 2 British soldiers were also shot by the Turkish forces, Neil Emery and Geoffrey Hudson, both from 39th Regiment Royal Artillery. BDR Emery was shot in his arm, whilst GNR Hudson was shot in the leg by a high-velocity rifle round and was airlifted to hospital in Nicosia, then on to RAF Akrotiri. Activism. The buffer zone between the checkpoints that divide Ledra Street was used as a space for activism from October 15, 2011 up until June 2012 by the Occupy Buffer Zone movement. See also: Green Line, Inter-Entity Boundary Line, Cyprus Dispute, Cypriot Refugees, Republic of Cyprus, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees Representation in Cyprus, No Man's Land, Sovereign Base Areas Customs, Pillar, Luragina Salient, Kokkina Exclave, Merlage 12 did a project in Nicosia with musicians from both sides of the border. References. External links: the Buffer Zone UNFISP website, the United Nations Buffer Zone Adrian Scarborough Photography.